series. This is a series under which we have done nearly 250 webinars so far. We have been very fortunate to have a blend of Indian scholars and scholars from across the world. And we have been also very fortunate to have a blend of topics which are pertaining to contemporary economic issues, both domestically relevant for India and globally, some relevant for India and some relevant for the global. India did the G20 presidency last year. We were also able to participate in that at the think tank, and we did series of webinars, 11 of them on new international economic order, and then we did 6 on women empowerment, and we did 6 on climate. To that extent, we have been also very fortunate that we have had Nobel laureates come and speak to us on various issues. Today, we are going to have another very important topic, digital transformation for sustainability-oriented innovation. And to speak about this, we have Ju Liu, who's the Associate Professor in Innovation Studies in Department of Urban Studies, Malmö University, Sweden. She is an Associate Professor. She holds a PhD in Innovation Studies. Her main research fields include innovation, sustainability, and globalization. She adopts the innovation system approach and the organizational perspective to study how regional institutions and organizational factors influence organization innovation behavior and performance. Her main research focuses are social innovation, technological innovation, as well as companies and societies' digital transformation. She has long and rich experience coordinating and conducting international research projects. These projects are financed by the European Commission, the Swedish Central Bank, Vinnova, Swedish Governmental Agency for Innovation Systems, Takes Finland, the Finnish Funding Agency for Innovation, the Wallenberg Foundation, Volkswagen Foundation, the National Natural Science Foundation of China, and other funding bodies. She is a special issue editor of Industry and Innovation, a book review editor of the African Journal of Science Technology, and a scientific committee member of Innovation and Development. She is also an external research grant evaluator of the Social Sciences and Humanities Research Council of Canada. We are very fortunate, and I've heard her speak earlier, we are very fortunate that she has agreed to come and speak to us on this important topic. Professor Ju, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Professor Sharon. It's a great honor to be invited to give a talk on this very important topic to our Indian colleagues. So I would like, first of all, to introduce a little bit about myself. My name is Ju Liu. I'm born in China. Maybe some of you are known where Xi'an is. There lives this very famous terracotta warriors. And I grew up in Chengdu and Wuhan, China. 4 years ago, maybe not many people know where Wuhan is, but now everybody knows where Wuhan is. So here, my education started in 1986. I graduated from high school. This is my high school picture. By then, there's no digital photo at all. So it's a copy of a paper photo. And this is me, the first line on the left, the second in pink dress. I was close to 18 by then. And in the 80s, the best students goes to study physics, chemistry, mathematics. And the second best goes to study engineering. So all the 3 girls in my family, we went to study engineering. So I studied electric engineering, my elder sister mechanical engineering, and my young sister computer science. But things changed in 2000. Do you still remember what happened in 2000? So maybe some of our audiences are born after 2000. So can you recognize the faces on this picture? So 2000, for the first time, that the World Economic Forum was broadcasted live in China. So for the first time, the normal Chinese people watch television and they see the world leaders, the famous figures, the multinational company CEOs discussing, debating about world economy. The first time, never ever. So I was amazed. And I decided, no, I'm not going to work on electric engineering anymore. I want to study economy. So I quitted my job. I joined a master program in business administration with a focus on international business. And that's changed my career. So later I did a PhD in innovation studies, and that brought me to India. So for the first time in 2006, I took an international trip. That was my first international trip in my whole life to Kerala, to Trivandrum in India. 2006, the GlobalX India about innovation systems for competitiveness and shared prosperity in developing countries. And there I met KG Joseph. And later we worked together in an EU project about impact of networks, globalization, and their interaction with EU strategies. So after 2006, I mean, India is a place, how to say, when I look back, is the turning point of both my career and my private life. Because in that conference in Trivandrum, Kerala, I met Charles Equist and Christina Chaminade. And later they invited me as a postdoc when I got my PhD degree. They invited me as a postdoc coming to study in Lund University in Sweden. And later they hired me. So I totally changed my career, studied from India. And then later I worked with Joseph to study how emerging countries, including India, Brazil, South Africa, and China, joined from global production network to global knowledge and innovation network. So that is the starting point of my innovation study from a global perspective. So after that conference, I took a trip with my Indian colleague, Anga Baskran, and another Indian colleague, African colleague, Mamu Muchi. We took a car trip from Trivandrum to Chennai. So that was a fantastic, lifelong, unforgettable memory. So we visited schools, we were invited by families, we met their cousins, met their parents, their grandparents, we watched their wedding pictures. And that was really, that makes me fall in love with India. Not only because of the brilliant, stunning culture, but also the beautiful people. I traveled all over the world to many different countries. If I like a place, mainly because I like the people there. So after that trip in India, when I went back to China, I bought immediately 12 books about India. I want to know more about India, but very unfortunate, I couldn't go back since then. So that was my only trip to India. But fortunately, I later worked with many different Indian colleagues on research projects. Hopefully, I will continue my collaboration with the Indian colleagues in the future. Who knows? So these pictures was 18 years ago picture. So if you look at the pictures, the kids, the school kids, they have grown up now. They may be in their late 20s or even 30s. They may have their own children. And the grown-ups in these pictures, they may have their grandchildren now. So I can't help ask me a question. Did we make the world better for our children and grandchildren? in the past 18 years. Certainly, in the past 18 years, India has grown stronger. The Global South has grown stronger. However, there's still a gap between the North and the South. So let's see, how can we learn from each other, the Global South and the Global North, to make the world a better place for the children and grandchildren of the people on these pictures, for us and for our future. So let's come back to our main business of today to talk about digital transformation for sustainability-oriented innovation, the challenges and opportunities in the Global North and Global South from a business organization's point of view. I always use this picture as a metaphor of a digital transformation. So this picture is a picture from my office window. So we have a sea view, very luxury. And on the other side of the sea is Denmark. I use this picture as a metaphor to show to my students that digital technology is not from here. From the industry, most of the conventional industry, digital transformation is from outside. It's from outside of our own industry. It's even not from the place that you live and work, is from abroad. And digital technology, when it comes to us, it's like the storm coming to us. You don't know in advance what it will bring to you. It may bring to a shower, to the water that you can take use of. It may bring you a storm that can destroy many things. So digital transformation, digital technology is a question mark to most of the conventional industries. Can you avoid it? No, you can't avoid it. The only thing you can do is to embrace the big cloud coming from other place and trying to navigate through, take use of the technology, trying to avoid the pitfalls and grow your own industry. So today we're going to talk about what is the geography of digital transformation for sustainability. I will show you 3 maps of Global South and Global North. And second, we're going to discuss how to understand the digital gap from a business organization's point of view. I will offer you a multi-level, multi-dimensional integrated model. And third, we'll discuss together what are the challenges and opportunities on both sides, the Global North and the Global South. And it is only an intuitive analysis of a researcher. I didn't do a systematic investigation yet. And last, we're going to discuss what and how can Global North and Global South learn from each other. I have some suggestions based on my own experiences and my own research. So that is the agenda. 4 topics today. So first, 3 maps. The first map is the global distribution of internet users. So if you look at this map, it's the map based on the Wikipedia map, but 2021 and 2022 is a quite recent map. And we can clearly see the Global North are mainly blue, which means they are more than 70% of this country's population are internet users. And those below 50%, that is in red, black, dark brown color, are mainly in the Global South, particularly in Africa. So you can clearly see a digital divide between the Global North and the Global South. Second map, global distribution of digital technology suppliers. So this is a map to show where are the Internet of Things technology come from. So you can clearly see on this map, This is a recent map based on over 4,000 IoT technology suppliers location. So 70% of the companies are headquartered in only 5 countries. So you guess what are the 5 countries? In sequence, the first one is the United States. So among over 4,000 Internet of Things technology providers, over 1,800 located in the United States. And the second one is China. And the third one, India. And then Germany and UK. So we can see the companies in the US and Europe tend to be more highly oriented around technology development, and while those in China and India are more likely be system integrators. But recent years, particularly in the past 2 years, we see China and India are catching up and more rapidly on the side of technology development. So this is the second map. We can see the division between the global north and global south, but we can also see the catch up of the global south, particularly in India and China. Map 3, the global progress toward sustainability development goals, the UN SDGs, and we can see almost all the global north are in green color. It means that most of the global north have high SDG index. So they have achieved most of the SDG, the sustainability development goals. And those in brown, in orange and red color means they haven't really achieved most of the SDG goals. And you can clearly see they are mainly located in Africa. So here is a clear global north and global south gap in terms of SDG achievements. So when we look at these 3 maps in terms of internet user, technology supplier, and SDG achievements, there's a global south and global north gap. The question is, where does this gap come from? So when we see a macro level gap, we need to dig deeper to see the meso and micro foundation of this gap. So macro level gaps stem from meso and micro level gaps. So here we would like to discuss how to understand digital gap from a business organization's point of view, a multi-level, multi-dimensional integrated model. So here my colleague and I, we always like to introduce Jackson Pollock. Do you know who is that? Jackson Pollock is an influential American painter. He's a leader of the abstract expressionist movement. I'm not personally a fan of his work, but I like this picture. What do you see here? This is how digital transformation happens in industries. It's a big mess. So a manager, a researcher, when we're facing a complicated process of digital transformation, we don't know where to get started, where to put the hands on, how to find the clue. So this is the reality, how digital transformation happens in real life. Then we need theoretical tools. We need frameworks to guide our investigation. And here is one of the framework that my colleague and I developed, trying to understand the complicated process of digital transformation for sustainability-oriented innovation from a business organization's point of view. So this framework, we develop it for managers in the company. And this is a newer version compared with the last time when Professor Sharan when we talk about in the UN General Assembly, this is a newer version. We have developed one step further. So this is a multi-level, multi-dimensional integrated model. So first of all, there are three different analytical levels. The first level is individual level. The second level is organizational level, and then business ecosystem level. So I have to emphasize again, when we look at this model, we look at it from a manager's point of view. And there are four different analytical dimensions: actors, determinants, process, and outcomes and impacts. The difference between outcomes and impacts is outcomes refers to short-term and medium-term change, and impact refers to long-term change. So let's see. We started, just imagine you are a company manager. We started from individual level to see how digital transformation for sustainability-oriented innovation happens in your company. Individual level, the actors are senior executives, the CEOs, top management, members of your company, and middle-level managers and frontline employees. So they are the actors in the digital transformation of your company. And the determinants, what determine their behavior? So we identify three types of determinants. The first one, we call it cognitive determinants, is learning ability, creativity. Affective determinants, their values and attitudes. So do they really like digital technology? And do they have awareness of sustainability? Or do they care about environmental impact or care about people's well-being? So these are the values and attitudes. And the third determinant on individual level is behavioral. What's their motivation? Are they willing to change to adopt the digital technology? Are they willing to give up some old habit of working in order to take care of the environment or to develop product that is environmental friendly? So do they have self-efficacy to dare to try new things? So these are the individual determinants. And the process on the individual level is individual learning. So digital technology is new to most of the people in the conventional industry. And you have to learn new things. And second, you have to relearn, which means you have to upgrade your previous knowledge and skills. And learn, you have to forget the way you do the old business. That is not all about learning new things. It's about upgrading your existing knowledge and skills. It's about forgetting the knowledge and skills that you have already have. That is sometimes painful. So with the actors and influenced by certain determinants and undertake this learning, relearning, and learning process, then we achieve the outcomes or impacts that can be creativity for sustainability-oriented innovation, that can be digital skills and literacy, or empowerment for innovation. So this solid line, we call it same level relations, is logical. Actors influenced by determinants undertake this learning, relearning, and learning as a process to reach outcomes and impacts. This is individual level. Then let's say organizational level. Organizational level in the company are top management team, functional departments, and project teams. And the determinants of an organization, there are resources on the one hand, capability on the other. The resources including tangible resources, capital, human force, infrastructure, equipment, and so on and so forth. Intangible resources, the vision of a company, leadership, culture, structure, These are resources, tangible, intangible, and capabilities for companies. When it's related to digital transformation, we highlight dynamic capabilities, how to react to faster changing environment, and absorptive capacity. That is, how, to what extent can you absorb, integrate new technologies, new business models, new way of working to your own organization. So these are the determinants of organizations. And then the process, we call it organizational learning, relearning, and unlearning. Relearning, we know, is to learn new things. Relearning is to upgrade the organization's knowledge and the capabilities. Unlearning is to forget the old way of working, which is very, very difficult, especially for those established, well-functioning organizations, successful companies, big companies. It's very difficult to unlearn. And also the process we highlight organizational change. Digital transformation is not just to buy new digital equipments, buy data sets, or establish an IT department in your company. No, it's more than that. It's to change the whole way of doing business in your organization. So organizational change is an important part of digital transformation in a company. And then the outcome can be sustainable new products, new services, financial performance, company branding, and so on and so forth. So this is what happened in the organizational level of a company's digital transformation. But company's digital transformation is not just an indoor activity. It's certainly influenced by external environment. So the external environment, we call it business ecosystem. So on business ecosystem level, the actors are suppliers, customers, competitors, government agencies, university and research institutes, NGOs, medias, and so on and so forth. And among the suppliers, very important supplier is digital technology suppliers. And these companies can be very different from the companies that you as a manager working in. And it's very difficult to understand each other. They are technology suppliers. You are a real estate company. You have different terminology, different way of thinking, but you have to work with them. So as a manager, for example, you work in a real estate construction company, and you need to know how to work with these technology suppliers. So that is from a manager's perspective, you have to look into the business ecosystem and identify who are your collaborators. The determinants on the business ecosystem level, we focus on two parts. One is the institution, one is technology infrastructure. The institution, including regulative institution, that is regulation, law, policies, and so on and so forth. Normative institution, that is social norms, values, expectations. For example, like in Sweden, people highly value sustainability. So if you are a meat eater, you don't make big noise. If you are a vegetarian, you are somehow more correct than a meat eater, because vegetarian, they have less environmental impact. So that is the social norm. That is the social value. And that is the expectations when people meet you. So like based on this social norm and society's expectations, my university have already decided many years ago that all meals offered by university should be vegan, and all domestic travel should not be flight, should be train. And even within Europe, if you travel to other countries within Europe for business trip, you should take the train instead of the flight. So that is the expectations from the society that influence your business. And the third institutional environment factor, we call it cultural cognitive institution. That is the mental models, the beliefs of the society. And all company managers should take this into consideration. And that will influence your business if the society accept your business model, appreciate your product or services. And another category of determinants on business ecosystem is technology infrastructure, particularly for digital transformation technology infrastructure like 5G and high-speed internet, like cloud computing, data analytics, and big data infrastructure, critically important for the digital transformation in your company. So we have to take that into consideration. And the process at business ecosystem is value co-creation, orchestration, resource mobilization among all the stakeholders in the system. So as a company manager, you need to understand you're not creating value all by yourself. You have to collaborate with the stakeholders. And you might be the dominant company in the ecosystem, that most likely you are not the dominant force, but the followers in the business ecosystem. So you need to understand how the business is orchestrated in the system, and certainly the resource, how resource is mobilized in the business ecosystem. On the business ecosystem level, the outcomes can be the regional resilience, industrial competitiveness, social, environmental sustainability, and certainly economic sustainability. So that is the three different levels. When we, as a manager, how to understand the digital transformation happened in your own company, but it is not only on the organizational level, it concurrently happens on the individual level and business ecosystem level. And this model, we call it an integrated model, because it's not only one level logical relations, there is cross-level relations. For example, a senior executive is part of the top management. That is, the lower level actor is part of the higher level actor. And the organizational level, the project teams can be part of the NGOs of the business ecosystem level. And the determinants the same. So the learning ability of individual employees is part of the dynamic capability or absorptive capacity of your organization. And the organization's visions and cultures can be part of the society's mental models and society's values, and they influence each other. The same on the process. Individual learning is the micro foundation of organizational learning, and your company's organizational learning is part of the value co-creation, orchestration in the business ecosystem level, and also outcomes. So the creativity of individual employees for sustainability-oriented innovation is the outcome supports the development of sustainable products and services, and your company's performance on sustainability is part of the foundation of the whole society's performance on sustainability. So this is how we present this model as an integrated model, because different levels interacts, interplays, and creates outcomes and impacts together. So now let's see what are the challenges and opportunities on both sides based on this model. So this is an intuitive analysis. On the individual level, the global north and global south challenges, let's look at the determinants. On global north, I would say, although the education level is high, but I clearly see resistance to change. So people do not want to change their attitude toward technology. Although they are aware of environmental sustainability, societal sustainability, they do not really want to change their actions. And on the global south, the challenge can be limited digital literacy and access to digital technology. On the global north, people are aware of sustainability. People have access to digital technology, but it's difficult for them to translate the awareness into action. I'll give you an example. Like I'm living in a quite a newly built house, and we have digital technology, smart management of the ventilation, heating in the room. But I know none of my neighbors use the digital technology to manage the ventilation and manage the heating. They still use the manual way to adjust the temperature. So that is the difficulty. Everybody knows environment sustainability is important, but nobody really take actions. Although we have access to digital solutions, we don't use it because we're not used to it. And on the global south, to prioritize immediate economic needs over long-term sustainability is a challenge. So you cannot say, maybe from the global north, people say, oh, why don't you take care of the environment, take care of the people? But that is easy to say. You take the stand from people from global south, and they need a modern way of a better way of living. They need modern technologies. They want to enjoy the fruit of modernization. That is, I don't think it's wrong. I mean, everybody deserves a better life. But then at this stage, we tend to prioritize economic needs over long-term sustainability. I always had this example, 2004, when I worked in China, we had a seminar with the how to say, China's the major negotiator for China's WTO entry, Long Yongtu, Mr. Long. And he came to my university, give us speech about China's WTO entry, and he very clearly claimed that by then, industrialization is a fast train. We need to catch the train at any cost. So pollution to the environment is something that is less important than catch the fast economic train. Take use of the opportunity, the globalization, to modernize Chinese economy, to globalize Chinese economy, and pollution is something that we can solve it later. That is a very clear example of prioritize economic needs over long-term sustainability. And I think it's not a single case. It's quite common in the global south. And in global north, the challenge of digital transformation is unlearning and relearning. So it's very clear, even though it's in Sweden, we think that Sweden has the highest level of ICT industry and digital literacy. It's among the highest level, but people do not really, how to say, automatically embrace open arms to say, let's digitalize our industry. For example, 2019, I was in a seminar with a group of CEOs from real estate and construction companies. So I was asking the question, when will digital transformation arrive in Sweden in the sector of real estate and construction? So when will you adopt digital technology in real estate sector and construction sector? And one of the CEO, he's from one of the biggest real estate company, and he said, well, I'm too old for digital technology. That answer surprised me. I won't expect a big company CEO said digital technology, I'm too old for it. and my company will not really take serious look at it in 2019 in Sweden. So that is clearly an obstacle for Sweden to how to say, embrace digital technology and transform the industry and leverage the strength of digital technology. That's the reality. Not all industries are willing to or are prepared for digital transformation. And in Global South, economic barriers and affordability for learning. So this is the how to say, the paradox in the Global North. Learning, studying is quite easy. And for any employees, they're entitled to take a leave with salary for learning. So I said, I can tell my employer, I want to take a 1 year break. I want to take a degree or a training program, and I can be paid by the state. So learning is not a problem for in terms of how to say, money or budget. You can take a break and learn, and the state, the country, pay for you. But in the Global South, it's not that easy. So you have to pay for learning, and there is economic barriers and opportunities. The opportunities in the Global North is growing sustainability awareness drives digital innovation. And you can clearly see the market is crying for smart buildings, for digital solutions, and companies has to react to the demand in the market. And you can see, interestingly, sustainability and digitalization is driven by private sector. It's not driven by the state. It's not top down. It's a very bottom up approach. So we have an NGO together with Miami University and the real estate construction companies in the region to promote sustainability. We call it LMF 30. And the aim is by 2030, the whole real estate and construction sector in southern Sweden should reach zero emission. So that is the goal. And that is interesting to see. Sustainability in Sweden is driven by the private sector. So that is the opportunity. And access to advanced digital tools is also an opportunity for the Global South. And in Global North, in Global South, growing youth populations on online learning platforms with mobile-based technologies, that is the opportunity. When you look at the picture I show you, I took 18 years ago, the school kids, they grew up. They grew up with mobile phones, and they know how to use online learning platforms and how to use mobile phones, how to use short videos to create some new business. So that is the opportunity for Global South. And traditional knowledge and local innovation practices can be very valuable assets in sustainable development. Recently, one of my colleagues, she's from Egypt, and she just was granted 4.3 million euro to study how to use clay to build modern buildings. So that's interesting how much money the European Union invested in this environmental friendly material for construction. And using clay is a traditional practice, traditional knowledge, and that is indigenous knowledge is a big asset for sustainable development. And that is the strength, opportunities for Global South, because this kind of knowledge has already disappeared in Global North. Let's look at organizational level. The challenges on Global South and Global North, the determinants. On Global North, the legacy systems and infrastructures, they are advanced, but they are becoming obstacles for digital transformation. So because the companies, the sectors are working well, they're producing money, they're making money, they're producing buildings, they're producing products. I mean, the old way of doing business has been successful, so they do not want to change. That is the asset becomes liabilities for innovation. And on the global south side, lack of digital infrastructure, lack of advanced technology platforms is the challenge. So you see, different side has different challenge. And on global north side, organizational learning and relearning is a problem. So I have asked a company that is a housing company, the CEO of a housing company. I asked him, so do you have a digital strategy in your company? And he said, no, we haven't developed it. That was 2020, 4 years ago. And I asked him, what is the obstacle, big obstacle for digitalization of your company? Is it because your tenants, the people living in the building, they become, particularly the senior people, they don't like digital technology, they don't like mobile phones. Is it the problem? And he said, you know, the people living in my building, the tenants, they're not the obstacle. The biggest obstacle is my people, my managers, my workers. They don't want digital technology. They don't want to change the way they work. So that is the main obstacle. The organization do not want to unlearn, do not want to relearn. And many companies, I did a lot of research on real estate and construction companies. And this sector might be the least digitalized sector in Sweden. And they mainly take a siloed approach to digital transformation and sustainability. Like, let's add an IT department. We hire some IT experts. We buy a new computer, new system, install building information management system. And then we digitalized. But interesting enough, one of the company, they adopted a BIM, that is Building Information Management. It's a huge software system, digitalize almost everything of a building. They recently give it up. They don't use digital version. They print it out. They use the PDF version of this BIM system. So go back to analog, from digital to analog. Interesting to see how they go back, because the people don't like digital models on computer. They like print it out, take it in the paper. That is how it happens in an advanced country in terms of digital transformation. And in the global south, financial constraints for learning programs is an obstacle. The people has to relearn, learn new things, upgrade their existing knowledge and skills, and forget what they have been used to. So that is a huge learning program you have to implement, and it takes time and it takes money. And in the global south side, limited access to global knowledge and best practice is also an obstacle. But to India, the English language is an advantage to India compared with many other global south countries. So you have better access to global knowledge and best practices in terms of language. And opportunities in the global north is innovation forced by sustainability regulations. So government regulations will ban plastic, we ban certain kind of, for example, stop producing traditional cars fueled by gasoline. Before, like Volvo announced 2035, they're going to stop producing gasoline cars. And now they have to postpone it, the plan, because the process is not as fast as they expected. And sustainability-oriented products and services as differentiation strategy in market. If you look at Sweden, any buildings, if they get a certificate of green building, they have higher rent, they have better reputation, they attract more customers because people want green buildings. So that is how sustainability-oriented products and services becomes a differentiation strategy in the market. You have to brand yourself as a green company, green product, environment friendly, human friendly, in order to compete your competitors in the market. And access to green finance and sustainability investment is a big advantage in the global north. Like in my university, we have sustainability funding. If you want to take trains, taking train is much more expensive than take flight. And the university has money to finance a more environmental friendly trip. So that is green funding. It has better access here. And opportunities on the global south side, leapfrogging technology for sustainability. You skip the old generation, you go directly to the most advanced technology. And we see this in India, and we see this in China too. And access to growing market for sustainable solutions, and India might be the most faster growing market for sustainability solutions, products and service. So that is the opportunity for the global south. And mobile digital platform for inclusiveness. And we can see a lot of examples how people use short video by TikTok, by Kuaishou, by different kind of digital platforms to advertise their products in rural area, to show their lifestyle in rural area, in the mountains, in the desert, and get interest from all of the world. And when people are interested in your lifestyle, in your daily life, they started to build up a trust, and then you are able to reach them to sell your product, sell your how to say, your commodities from your own village, far in the mountains, by the seas. That cannot happen before without digital technology. And this is so clear in China that some of my relatives, they go back to the mountains, go back to the fishing village. They leave Shanghai, they leave Shenzhen, they leave the big companies, they go back to their small village in remote area. Why? Because they can sell the product from the small village deep in the mountains. They use short video to show their daily life, how they feed the goat, how they feed the pigs, how they pick up apples, how they grow wheat, rice in the field. And they have fans. And then they can build up a small business, sell the apples, the chestnuts they pick up in their yards, and sell it to anybody in the country. So that is how small business boosted, boomed by digital technology. It's a very good example to see how Global South can leverage digital platform for the economic development and society development in rural area. And on business ecosystem level, the challenges on the South is complex regulatory with numerous environmental regulations, data privacy laws, cross-border trade rules, slow down innovation and complicate efforts to scale sustainability solutions. So in the global north, in Europe, particularly in Sweden, people are very much care about privacy. So they're very reluctant to show their personal data, show their face in videos, on platforms, and they think they don't feel secure. And these, and also the data privacy laws, regulations, prevent many innovation from happening. So this is the how to say, is the negative side of regulations. And sometimes we have to say, like in China, I do not have knowledge about India. Chinese people are the most willing to share the personal data and to gain convenience or economic benefits from the business sectors. And they are more willing to share data with companies on platforms. And in Europe, people are not so willing to do that. So you see much less innovation happened in e-commerce in Europe rather than in China, in India, in the global south. And challenges in the global south, inconsistent or unclear regulations for both digital transformation and sustainability. And regulation takes a long time to build up. So that is the challenge of global south. But we can see the improvement in the past years. And challenges on global north, sustainability goals are not fully integrated across all stakeholders. I mean, public sectors, people are maybe more aware of that, like particularly societal equality, justice, and private sector pay less attention to that. And global south prioritize economic development over environmental and societal sustainability. That is the challenge, as we have discussed before. And global north is path breaking. This has been successful. How to break the path and create a new path is the challenge. And global south is to create a new path to embrace digital technology for sustainability. The opportunities in global north is a well-established innovation system involving universities, research institutes, business, and government. So the system has been established, and the sustainability-driven customer market is the opportunity. The mature finance market for sustainability-oriented innovation, and you can see government fundings finance private sector to adopt a digital technology for sustainability. And in the global south, is leapfrogging. Old digital infrastructure, we go directly, we skip to the 3G, even 4G, we go directly to the latest digital infrastructure. And rapid growing markets, that is a big strength, and collaboration with the informal sectors. And as far as I know, that India has a huge informal sector. That's not really, you can see from the surveys, from statistics, but that is a big sector with numerous innovation. That is the strength, the opportunities for global south. And also public-private partnership. And that takes the public sector. The government has the vision and mission for the future. Okay, so let's see. This model, we call it a multi-level, multi-dimensional integrated model for business organizations, address challenges and explore opportunities. In this model, the higher and lower factors are interconnected and interdependent and co-evolving. So individual people are growing, are learning, organization are growing and learning, and so does the business ecosystem. So co-evolving. The behavior and decision-making process at lower level is the micro foundation of higher level. So individual learning is the micro foundation of organizational learning. Organizational learning is the micro foundation of the change in the business ecosystem. The higher level characteristic and process is the environmental settings of the lower level. So the social norms, the values in the ecosystem is the environmental setting of the organization's missions and visions. And organizations' cultures and structures is the environmental settings of individual people's values and attitudes and behaviors. So that is integrated, interdependent, and in, how to say, the whole holistic perspective of digital transformation in the company. Okay, last but not least, let's see how we can learn from each other. So I've been working in China for over 22 years and in Nordic countries like 14 years. So my life experience and work experience in both global north and global south make me very confident that we can learn from each other. The global north can learn from the global south in terms of frugality, agility, and flexibility. So global north has always been working and living in a quite abundance of resources. And here people has forgotten how to use limited resources to effectively and efficiently build up something that they can take use of. And agility is the organizations and companies here has been successful and has been happily living in a peaceful, growing environment for so long. And they have, I have to say, relatively the life pace here, the pace of doing business here is slower than in China and in India. So people are not so willing to adapt quickly to change. When they are waiting, some of my colleagues told me, you know, in Sweden, we have a saying that before things are rotten, not to change it. But that is not what I see in the global south. In India, in China, as long as there's a tiny slice of business opportunity, people go to grab it. People go to catch it. And change is a permanent theme. It's a permanent thing in everyday life. So the agility I see in global south, I don't see in global north. And also the flexibility. And one of my colleagues, when he went to India and he came back and so asked him, so how do you think? What do you think in India? And he said, well, it's very, it's a great shock to us Swedish people going to India, totally different environment. And I said, and he said, well, you know, that I don't understand. He said, it's a big mess there and there's no rules. I mean, you know, in the street, and there are people jogging, bicycle running, car running and hauling, and cow walking, monkey walking. It's a big mess there. And I don't see any rules. So I tell him, well, the Indian rules is not the Swedish rules. And the Swedish rules does not apply to the Indian context. The Indian rules cannot be seen by our Westerners. There is rules. If there's no rules, how can people walk among bicycles, cars, cows, and monkeys? So there are definitely rules that global north that ignored, maybe consciously or unconsciously, that there are rules, there are agilities, flexibilities, and frugalities that you don't understand, that you think it's a mess, that we don't have to learn from them. There's nothing that we can learn from them. No, there's a lot of things that global north can learn from India, from China, from global south, if you are humble enough. And the global south, certainly we should learn from the global north in terms of technology advancement, in terms of how global north build up their innovation ecosystem, how trust is built among different societal actors. That is really, really interesting. If you want to do a research in Sweden, if you want to interview the CEO of big companies like Ericsson, like IKEA, like Volvo, you just write to them. You write them once, twice, three times, they're going to reply to you, and you're able to interview the CEO of a huge multinational company because they trust you as a researcher. And there's a quite equal society that everybody can talk to everybody. This I never experienced in China. If I want to interview a CEO from a big Chinese company, I have to know his wife, her husband, his university classmates, his relatives, in order to gain the trust. But in Sweden, you can talk to everybody. So that is how they build up the trust in the society and the innovation system of the industries. And global value chain. The global value chain, to me, is a crucial role for knowledge sharing and skill development. If you look at India, the past 18 years when I first visited India, the economic growth, the rise of middle class, the IT and outsourcing boom, the huge flow of FDI to India, the access to global market and cultural exchange and soft power of India, all these supported by global value chain, the Indian participation of global value chain. That is a crucial role for sharing best practice and standards for inclusive and scalable sustainability-oriented digital solutions. So India is a good example of taking use of global value chain participants as a tool, as an instrument to develop the domestic economy and society. But certainly there are dark sides, negative side of global value chain that sometimes brings income inequality and job displacement, and particularly for low-skilled workers in terms of digital transformation. That is something that we can solve. So I always say the problem brings by development, we must solve it by development itself. It's not that we stop development. No, we have to use development as a tool to solve the problems created by development. So that is my talk of today with my Indian colleagues. And thank you very much for listening. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Joe. That was fantastic. And the details that you could go in, we could not go in the other day when we did for the UN. So, and of course, you developed the model further, and that's our advantage that you could come and bring this here and discuss at length. So, thank you very much. If there are some questions in the chat box, if you want to answer one or two of them, and in case anybody wants to ask a question, please raise your hand, and I will invite you. In the meantime, Ju, what I understand from the discussion that we have just had, that the global South is far more willing to adapt, but affordability is an issue. The global North is reluctant to adapt or adopt because they're already in a very comfort zone and are not willing to unlearn. So that to me opens an opportunity for the global South to leapfrog.
Yeah.
So you would agree with that, right?
I fully agree. I would say that Global South, because I'm from Global South, I was born in the middle of Cultural Revolution when China was extremely poor. So I'm from a family with my father is a professor, my mother is a high school teacher, but we are extremely poor. No toilet at home, no water tap at home when I was born. So that was, I see how China, also like in India, how the economy develops, how people's life improved, and how we started from little, right? So that's that kind of fast growth in India and in China in global South give us, how to say, confidence, or give us a habit to cope with change. So change is a normal thing. But when I come to Sweden, my husband is a Swedish, and I have a big Swedish family here. And what I heard from them is that really life has been comfortable. They have everything in place since 40, 50 years ago. So they're not really used to change, and they're reluctant to change because change means risk. And our global South people are more willing to take risk because we do not have much to lose, right? And we have seen in the past that taking risk make us benefit from the innovation, from the new things. So we have learned from taking risk, and here people is more reluctant. That is the reality.
So, you come from global South, and the cultural background of the two countries, China and India, are way behind thousands of years. And I now have a feeling there's always churning which takes place. The global North was not the global North as rich as it was, as it is now 300 years ago. China and India were far richer. Then came a phase we got probably complacent or reluctant to change or unwilling to unlearn. And so we suffered. And now the global north, we can see the same thing happening there. While we leapfrog and take over, very fast moving country, China, very fast moving country, India, while we will take over, I think the global north will have to then take the same churning, the wave, with the waves you go and the waves you suffer, probably is what is happening. There is a question from Dr. Chitra Saruparia. Dr. Chitra, you want to ask your own question?
Yeah. Thank you so much, Professor. I have just a small doubt that I am developing a course on law and economics of innovation. Right. So, can you please suggest some textbooks or some books on economics of innovation?
Oh, you mean the books? Am I understanding it correctly? You want me to recommend some books?
Yep, or good articles.
Oh, good articles.
Where, Dr. Chitra, where are you developing it?
I would recommend you the Handbook of Innovation, the Oxford Handbook of Innovation. There, I remember there are two different versions, and they are all. I think it was edited by Professor Bendoka Lundwell.
Ma'am, I have something to say if you don't mind. Ma'am,
Yeah.
can you share the link here? Ma'am, can you share the link here? The link of the book you mentioned, can you please share in the chat box, please? It will be very beneficial for us.
Okay, let me see.
Very kind of you, ma'am.
Yeah, I will do that.
Yeah, please do that. That will be nice.
This is a book that I have, let me write it here, that really changed my view over innovation. This is Young Fagerberg.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
There's another one. Innovation management.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Okay. There are many different books, but I think innovation is happened very quickly. I would say if you want to be in the frontier of innovation studies and articles, particularly working papers, you should pay attention to that. In terms of digital transformation, digital technology, and I mean, it changes at the speed of, I mean, every month it's changing. So the best paper or the latest paper, and I would say pay attention to working paper series. Because books takes longer time to read. I would like to answer one of the questions in the chat box. So one of our participants said, "What about isolated area?" Yeah, isolated area. I remember that 2006 in the Indian conference, the Globalist conference in Kerala, there was one professor from Ethiopia, and he asked a question. We are talking about innovation system, but how about the countries hasn't had any system? So can we innovate? And it applied to the areas, to how about the rest of the area developing, but our area is isolated. It always, how to say, it's, I mean, always a question of how to start from nothing, right? How to start from scratch. So I would say I was inspired by the Ethiopian professor Mamumuchi, and he said then in the innovation system theory, we need to add one thing, that is the vision of politicians. So the politician, if they have a vision to achieve something, they are going to mobilize resources in the society, build up bridges between different sectors and actors, and take off the economy. You have to organize everything from scratch, build up from little, build up infrastructure, both roads and bridges, as well as internet. So if you want to talk about how to take off, how to build up something from nothing, and that professor says you need to have an institutional entrepreneur, somebody like Deng Xiaoping in China, to get everything started. So that is politicians' vision of an area. It's very difficult, if you ask me, according to my experience and research, for grassroots innovation and change the system alone. The grassroots has very limited resources, and you expect a grassroots from isolated areas start everything from scratch is almost impossible. So there is a big need for public-private collaboration and the vision of politicians. And digital is capital intensive, and poor people can't bear its cost. Digital is capital intensive, but mobile phone is not. So how is the cost of a normal, not iPhone, of a normal affordable mobile phone in India? Is quite affordable. So that has small seeds can make a big difference. We have a colleague. He worked in Kenya for many years, since the beginning of 2000, and he told us, that Swedish people are so happy. We use Swish. That is the online payment system. Swish was, I think it started like 3-4 years ago in Sweden, and we were so happy that Sweden is leading electric payment platform. And he said, you know what? 15 years ago in Kenya, they have it already. They pay salary to your mobile phone. They have it already. So it's not an innovation in Sweden. It's been an African innovation 15 years ago. So in terms of this, digital technology seems to be very capital intensive, but some small niche, you can start it from cheap, from little. But certainly, internet infrastructure is critical. So all the countries, the global south, should invest in internet infrastructure, should invest in roads, in bridges. You think my relatives living in the deep mountains in China, how can they sell the apples, the chestnut to all over the country? Because of the good infrastructure, the roads, the bridges, the railways, super fast, and that enable economic development of isolated areas. If you go to Tibet, the same. In Tibet, the cities, you see the supermarkets, they have exactly the same thing, and you can buy in Beijing, in Shanghai. That is the strength of infrastructure. So although it's capital intensive, we can start from small, from cheap, but the government should invest in infrastructure. I know that Indian government has invested heavily in infrastructure. That is a very positive move, I think.
Yeah, but there are lots of infrastructure investment even took place in China, you know that. And later on, there was quite a bit of wastage of it. So I think that is the cost, or that is the trade-off an emerging or a global south takes in trying to catch up with the global north. Thinks that infrastructure would be required, and the way China sunk money in infrastructure and then building after building lying vacant and getting, yeah, that is there. But the point that you made on internet or in general on infrastructure, I agree with you. But on internet, again, I'll tell you something which is today morning only I was very worried. See, Elon Musk's Starlink with satellites, which will provide you the internet even in the remotest parts of your country. Whereas a country like India has sunk so much of investment in laying the pipes across the length and breadth of the country to have a good internet bandwidth. And now if you go for Starlinks and satellite provides you and do not have the need anymore for laying down the pipes, another trade-off which we have done in infrastructure. So Global South then does have to worry of the return on the investment, be it the government which is doing the infrastructure, or be it the private sector leading business houses which are doing the infrastructure. But then now that worry is there. So obviously what's going to happen, the Starlink will be either opposed by Global South because they have spread the network of wires and everything, or else the companies which have invested there would have to be compensated or will have to take losses. So there is, to my mind, a risk involved in the Global South in undertaking innovative investment. The Global North is reluctant because they're already too complacent. They don't feel the need. And the Global South, and the way the innovations rapidly are taking place. Look, the other innovation that was taking place is electric car. In the electric car, suddenly, Tesla and all that, I don't find that original enthusiasm anymore.
I mean, in terms of this electric car, I think I feel a little bit sad because the world needs electric car for the sake of the planet, right? For the sake of climate change. But now when the Chinese electric car becomes more advanced and cheaper than the produced here in Europe and the US, and then the protectionism comes up. I mean, that for the sake of what? I was thinking, if I see India, if I see China, we benefit greatly for opening economy to the whole world, right? So that is, we benefit greatly to competition, join the global competition. But if you want to protect your industry from competition, on the one hand, it is not healthy for your own industry on one side. On the other hand, is that you postpone the time of taking green solutions. I mean, install the environment friendly solutions to the country, and you create more environment impact on the planet. So that is a very sad thing that I can see. Why can't the global all the economies collaborate together to create a better future, right? If you are good at electric car, I may be good at water management. He might be good at waste management. We learn from each other, right? That for the sake of the planet Earth. I also see here as one comment about learning and relearning, upskilling. This is very hard because most want to stay in comfort zones. Exactly. I was in a seminar with a group of CEOs from different public housing companies all over Europe. So there is a city expo in Helsingborg, a city close by where I live. So I joined that CEO seminar and gave a lecture to the CEOs. We discussed how to make innovation happens in public housing companies. And then one of the guys we are talking about digitalization, innovation, and people talk, oh, well, my company is not going to move fast because we don't want to move out from our comfort zone. And there's an Italian CEO, and she said, you know what? You say we don't want to move away from our comfort zone. I tell you, we don't want to jump out even from our discomfort zone. Although we feel uncomfortable, we still don't want to change. In general, we don't want to change. that is how what you said, unlearning, relearning is very hard. It's
I
very
agree
difficult.
with you. We always keep saying it's better. We know the devils. We know these devils. We can handle them. But into a new area, we do not know who the new devils will be and what would they be like. So why should we even take the risk? So I totally agree with you that there is so much of reluctance. It is the fear of change that 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 is more important. Okay, with that, I think we can close for the day. I want to really thank you, Ju, for agreeing to do this for us. So happy today we came to know the India link to a change in your career, and very happy ending to a real change in the career. I thought that was very, very good. Want to thank you for that. And also want to thank you for a very elaborate presentation that you did with us today. Also want to thank the participants who have stayed with us for such a long time today and have asked questions to enrich the discussion. Next week, you may like to join us. Next week, we have a discussion from our Sri Lankan friend. She is going to be speaking to us on the same topic that we covered together at the United Nations. Right? And I'm sure she is going to innovate further and bring an improvement and come and present. So maybe you would like to come and join us. The time will be the same 4 to 5:30 p.m. and we will send you the invite also. And if you have a WhatsApp number, do share with us. We do lots of these activities every Friday, and you may like to join us from there. Many of my friends join from London, and of course, some of them join from Boston too, and some from Los Angeles. So if we have we can put we'll put you on the mailing list on the email. But we would like you to join. You've done such a great job for us today. We would like you to join us more often, more regularly. With that, let me thank each one of you. Let me thank you once again, and have a great weekend. And I look forward to meeting you on next Friday. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.